Easter story is amazing, and we would love to tell you about it today. This story doesn't just happen over one day. It's a story that unfolds over one very important week. And we as Christians call this Holy Week because of how many special and important things that happen that week. So why don't we start at the beginning, 1 week before Easter Day, on Palm Sunday? The week starts when Jesus and his disciples, his friends and his followers, arrive in Jerusalem. Jesus rides on a donkey, and as they get closer and closer, crowds of people begin greeting Jesus, shouting for him. They've heard about the amazing things he has done and are so excited to see him. And as they arrive in the city, the people are laying down their coats to make a royal road and waving palm branches, shouting Hosanna, which means save us. They were greeting Jesus like a conquering king, and many of them did want Jesus to be their king. But as you can imagine, the leaders didn't like this. And they were not happy to see Jesus, and were not happy about how many people were following him. So rather than celebrating, they started to plot about how they could arrest Jesus and get rid of him for good.
Thursday that week, Jesus celebrated the Passover with his friends. This was the big celebration they'd come to Jerusalem for, and it was a holiday and very special meal they celebrated every year. But this time, Jesus did something totally new and unexpected. He wanted to show them the new thing that God was going to do through him. He took the bread that was on the table, handed it to his friends, and said, "This is my body, which is going to be broken for you." Then he took the cup of wine on the table, handed it around, and said, "This is my blood, which is going to be poured out for you." The disciples didn't understand at all, but Jesus was showing them that he was going to die, and he wanted them to remember this dinner. This meal is called Jesus' Last Supper because it was his last meal, his last time with his disciples before his death. Jesus' death was part of God's plan. It was why he had come, and this meal and what Jesus said was a way for the disciples and for all of us to remember and know what God was doing for us. After their special meal, Jesus was arrested in the Garden of Gethsemane. Well, it was unexpected for his friends, the disciples, but the Bible tells us that Jesus knew what was going to happen. After he was arrested, the leaders in Jerusalem held a secret midnight trial. And even though Jesus wasn't a criminal and hadn't done anything wrong, they quickly sentenced him to death. He was beaten and taken to a cross and nailed to it, and that's where he died. Christians believe there was a lot more to it than that, because remember, Jesus knew he was going to be arrested and killed. He even told his friends it was going to happen. But he chose to stay in Jerusalem anyway, chose to go to the cross, because it was part of God's big plan.
3 days after Jesus died, his friends and followers were feeling scared. Some were hiding, afraid they would be arrested too, but a few others were preparing for Jesus' funeral. Some of his followers went to where his body was, in a tomb covered by a large stone, to get ready for the funeral. But when they got there, the tomb was open. His body was gone. Then things really started to happen, and an angel appears who tells them that Jesus isn't here. He's alive. Not long after, in the same garden, they see Jesus. He walks up to them, and they can't believe it. They had all seen Jesus' dead body there 3 days ago. Soon, more and more of Jesus' followers were seeing him. Some saw Jesus at home, some walking down the road, some of them by the lake. And Jesus would eat with them and explain why he had to die and why he rose again. As the news spread, pretty soon all of Jerusalem was talking about how Jesus had come alive again. It wasn't a secret. And the news spread and more people saw him. More and more people started believing in Jesus. believing it was all true. And not just in Jerusalem, but the news started to spread to the countryside and across the border to other countries, and then all around the Roman Empire. Some of the first Christians were actually ancient Romans, but it didn't stop there. Soon people were believing in Jesus all over the world, from Jerusalem to Rome, all the way to Scotland in 2021. There is estimated around 2.3 billion Christians in the world today, including me and Kat, that you also seen in the video. There's 2.3 billion people celebrating Easter, celebrating Holy Week, and remembering how Jesus died and came back to life all of those years ago. And we hope you enjoy celebrating Easter too.